Welcome to episode 6. This week I have Lisa from the Saucy Wench. Welcome to the show, Lisa.
Hi, Ray. Glad to be here.
Before you became the Saucy Wench, tell us about your background and what were you doing?
Before I came the fabulous Saucy Wench, I was a meek and mild. I was Clark Kent. And my background was in architecture and construction specifically. I used to do detailed drawings and be like a translator between an architect and a builder.
Oh, wow.
Suddenly, I had this midlife crisis. Just thought I'd always loved cooking. So I grew up in Malaysia. I told my mum at a young age that I wanted to be, it wasn't called chef back then, it was called a cook.
Yeah.
And I said I wanted to be cook. And my mum, who is a literal beauty queen, like she did win a beauty pageant, she just squealed and went, "Oh my God, you will be oily all the time." And so was her main concern about me going to become a cook or a chef, that my complexion would be oily all the time. That's why I went to university because, as all good Asian children have to do, you have to go to university. And and I pursued architecture instead. I grew up as the eldest granddaughter. As soon as I could stand, I think my grandmother had me in the kitchen just watching her. And then as soon as I was tall enough to wash dishes, I was washing dishes. And as soon as I could handle a knife, I was cutting vegetables. So I've always loved it.
What was the tipping point where you were doing these drawings and now's the point, I'm going to stop this? As an fellow Asian, where I grew up in a very probably risk adverse, I wouldn't say conservative, but risk adverse household where you study business or science and then you study at university and then you get a good job and you have a stable income. You were doing all those things. You were ticking all the boxes of what Asian parents wanted from their kids. At least for me, I know that it's quite nerve-wracking to go against the grain. So what was the catalyst for you to decide at that point that you're going to take this leap?
100%. Risk of adverse is a really good way to describe it instead of conservative.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. They want your life to be easy. They don't want your life to be a struggle. That's the misconception of Asian parents being conservative and tough. They just want better for you, and this is what they know would give you a better life and have a stable income. The tipping point was, I guess I was already in my 40s and I'd had my kids. My kids were a little bit older, and we flooded in 2011 in the Brisbane floods. In 2017, they told us that we were going to flood again. That was when I have this very practical husband who has to fix problems. I don't know if you know this type of man.
He's an engineer.
After the 2011 floods, he decided never again. We are not suffering through 2 weeks of no power. So he built a retaining wall.
I love that.
Appliances everywhere. We had a generator. Just anything he could to prevent and in anything bad happening should we flood again. So in 2017, they said, we're going to flood again. And the Brisbane City Council turned off the power. And so we fired up all gas barbecues and everything. All the neighbors came round with all the food that was spoiled.
Wow.
It was storming outside, just water pouring down from the sky. And we cooked everything that we couldn't put in the fridge. And we cooked and preserved. Somebody had a whole heap of chilies from chili bushes, so we made a chili oil. We made a chicken pie because someone had a cooked chicken. We drank all the beer and wine because that was going to go off too.
Of course.
Without refrigeration.
Yeah.
We were all pretty plastered, and someone then said, you should do this for a living. You should cook for a living. You should do something. Teach people to cook. Do something. This is clearly your passion. I said, oh, yeah, sure, I should do that. Well, what am I? What shall I call myself? And because I was making all these sauces to put in jars, they said, call yourself the Saucy Wench. One stormy night, one drunken stormy night, that name was born. The Saucy Wench was born.
Point. It's very clear when you talk about your business that your face lights up and you can see so much joy in what you do. How did you decide from an idea and testing with customers, which is what we talk about? You tested your product with people and they liked it. How did you decide what you were going to launch and how are you going to make it? What was your first, we talk about first sale often with merchants. What was the first thing you sold? What was it? And to who?
Chili oils. I started doing dumpling classes, teaching people how to make dumplings. And back then, there were a lot of people who hadn't ever had a dumpling. It was still very new, I feel, in Brisbane at least.
Mhm.
I started teaching these dumpling classes for, oh my God, I think I charged people $10 per person because
That's so cheap.
will it take off? I know. Will it take off? I don't know. And I did it at another neighbor's house who said that she'd help me out. And it was a beautiful house. It was much more conducive to a big bunch of people coming over and cooking together than my old Queensland. I'm really grateful to her. People loved it. And we served it with the chili oil. I even taught how to make the chili oil, thinking, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to teach people how to cook.
Mhm.
But then people said, oh, you know what? I don't really want to cook this stuff because it's hard.
Oh, it's a lot of
difficult.
work.
I don't have 12 people around me to make dumpling. It's a lot of work. So we just want to buy it. I don't know who's my first customer, but I sold my first jar at those workshops.
All right.
And at the beginning, the label was just made by me, just on Avery labels that
Yeah.
works. It was a play on the brand Lao Ganma, which is
Yeah.
a famous
Mhm.
oil brand from China.
Mhm.
Instead of Lao Ganma's face, which is pretty grumpy, I put my face on it and just wearing onion glasses
Mhm.
and smoking a lemongrass. I don't smoke, but it looks like I'm smoking it. I'm actually holding a piece of lemongrass. And from then on, more people wanted to buy it. I made other sauces because they said, can you make one that's less spicy?
Mhm.
And I make a satay sauce that's made for my mum because she gets a bit, now that she's a bit older, she gets a bit of a rash with balaka shrimp paste. So I make this plant-based satay sauce for her. And then people said, oh, we like that too. Can we buy that? And so it just went on from there. And then I started off at New Farm Markets. It had a really great reception there as well.
Mhm.
And I spent 3 years, I did the hard 3 years at a farmer's market.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm guessing you didn't have that much competition at the market for authentic Asian sauces. Did you?
No, I
Yeah.
didn't. There was a lot of hot sauce.
Mhm.
There's a lot of that American style barbecue hot sauce. There was a
Mhm.
lot of that. A lot of real strong chili sauces using the habaneros and the Carolina Reapers and things like that. For the Asians, we're not into we like heat, but
It's a different
not
type.
It's just challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not for the challenge eating something hot and saying, how hot can you take it?
No.
It's just about flavor.
Balance.
So that was main, yeah, balance. There were a lot of barbecue rubs. There were a lot of this American style hot sauce. There was some curry paste as well, but I
Mhm.
also think curry pastes are very different from an Asian sauce.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was actually a difficult thing to explain to people
Mhm.
that we have sauces that you can use to cook with, you can dip with it, you can marinate with it, anything. Think about hoisin sauce. You can cook, you can dip, you
Yeah.
can. It's the same with that.
I remember the first time I tried your plum sauce, and it was quite nostalgic because there's real plums in it. It's very authentic. Your products have a lot of authenticity to it. It's one, authentic to the generations of cooking that you've tasted and to your heritage. Also the ingredients. They're natural ingredients and they're not chemicals that can sit on a shelf for decades.
We have to get it tested. We do send it away to get it tested, but we use natural preservative methods. We don't use any chemicals to preserve it or any special additive that stops it from separating.
Yeah.
Some sauces are just like one homogeneous thing. And
Yes.
really, that's very nice.
No.
And I tell you what, Ray, the reason why they're so authentic, they're authentic because I like to be authentic, but in the kitchen working with me are 6 other Asian retired migrants who have come here to Australia from different parts of the world, Malaysia, Thailand, China. And they've come here to be closer to their children and their grandchildren who have migrated here.
Mhm.
But they're workers, they've worked all their life. So they come to my kitchen to make dumplings, to make sauce.
They don't want to do it. We talked about finding the products, which is amazing. What challenges did you face once you've got all this pent-up demand from, I'm guessing you had people pulling you in multiple directions because they're asking you to make a new sauce, but then you also have people who want your existing products. And then you have, like you mentioned, some retirees helping you, but that doesn't necessarily scale. What type of challenges did you face from selling your first jar to scaling up to support more business?
Finding enough consistent work. Sometimes she have first lines. Right now we're downstairs. We are making 500 pork dumplings because we've got a big order that's just come in. And 2 days ago we made 207 vegetarian dumplings, and they're happy because it's a big order. But next week we might have nothing. That's a real challenge. I really do make these products to be authentic, to be delicious, to educate people about how vast Chinese cuisine, Malaysian cuisine is. One of the challenges is to have consistent orders so that I can keep them employed all the time. I like being in the kitchen with them. I think that really helps me having joy in my business. Scaling up has been also a huge challenge. We've addressed the scale ups with using better equipment. We've got a great cooker now for the sauces, which can do 50 liters of sauce in 2 hours. So we could run that 4 times today if we wanted to fulfill, to probably run it twice every day. The biggest challenge would be the scaling up. People do ask for new products. People ask for products that don't have as many allergens in them.
Mhm.
But because I stay true to the authenticity of the sources, continue using high oleic peanut oil from Kingaroy, which is important to me. It's a very good quality peanut oil. It's Australian grown, Australian made. So I don't find that much of a challenge having to address all those allergens and eliminating it out of my products. I just feel if I stick to the authenticity, that there will be a market for it. Obviously not for the people who are allergic to peanuts or things like that. But yeah, I'd rather just stick to what I know and what I feel tastes the best, is Australian, is high quality.
How did you grow from selling at a market in New Farm to getting into Woolworths? That's an incredible journey. So what are the milestones along the way that got you there? Talk us through, because it doesn't happen overnight. You don't sell a jar at a party in a backyard to getting into the main grocer in Australia. How did you get there? And what accomplishments did you have along the way that helped?
New Farm Market is one of the premier farmers market here in Brisbane. And a lot of people go to it looking for things that they can buy directly from the producers, from the farmers. So it's really great exposure for Saucy Wench to many people who are concerned about this kind of thing. Then COVID hit in 2020 and the markets got cancelled. And then they're putting a lot more legislation, which made the market too expensive for me to attend
Mhm.
because waking up at 4 in the morning, getting there, setting up, and then running a market stall through wind, rain, heat,
Wow.
and sometimes no one coming. It just wasn't worth it. So in the end, I thought to myself, I've got to pivot. I started approaching smaller stores, which some of them are already newly from the mart.
Mhm.
So smaller in stores, and they started to stop me.
Mhm.
I had a really great opportunity from someone recommending me to this restaurant, and they did chifa, which is, I think it's like a blend of Chinese and Peruvian food. And they had my dumplings there, which gave me consistent orders all the time. Consistency, back to the whole Asian parent thing, consistency is very key. Consistency of money coming, very key to any business. So that really helped us along. And from that also gave me the confidence to go out to a distributor, a very small distributor at the time. What started to really ramp up Saucy Wench's business would be the fact that I really grew up, I came into my own. I embraced the fact that the Saucy Wench brand is not just the sauce,
Mhm.
because that was like a very farmers market type thinking. You've got good produce and people just come to buy your produce. But once you're in the stores, you got to have extra. You got to have that X factor. So then that was when I started going, I've got to start wearing those glasses that I wear on the packaging. I've got to wear really colorful clothes that sort of speak to my heritage and my identity. So I did that. And I started going to the Good Food and Wine Show where it's a market stall, but you're open to such a large amount of people. And I think that was a big step up to the Saucy Witch. People started knowing my stuff. I did more tastings in store. I think the important thing is to get out there with your X factor, something more than just an amazing product. You've got to
Mhm.
bring your A game as well. So meet the producer of this product. How did I get to Woolworths? I joined a program called Seed Lab, which is like an incubator,
Mm.
and they help you navigate all these requirements that the bigger retailers, Woolworths, Coles, even Metcash, which is the umbrella company for IGA and a lot of independent grocers, require from you. It's a lot more than just selling direct. You make the product, you sell it directly to a shop, they sell it to a customer, and they put a little bit of a margin. There's so many more steps in between. It's a struggle. You've got to make so many price levels to adjust for all this.
Okay.
Seed Lab helped me with that, which is really great. They made me face a lot of issues with all small businesses. You're never perfect. I have Seed Lab to thank for that. They got me into Woolworths as a trial because I got invited due to Seed Lab to the Woolworths HQ to go to their expo. I brought my A games. It was the glasses, the crazy hat, the cart. I have a little dumpling cart that has dumplings on. And I brought all that to Woolworths. And even though I think I'm at a more expensive price point than what they're used to, I think someone saw me there, said, we need this. We need this excitement in Woolworths. And I think that's what made me be on that trial shelf.
And you've also received some accolades recently for your sauce, winning some awards. Tell us more about what awards you recently received.
Oh, yeah. So we won, I'll start from the lowest and then keep the best for the last. So we won bronze at the Melbourne Royal for the plum sauce and for the lemongrass tamarind. We won bronze at the Sydney Royal for the green sambal, but the green sambal also won silver at the Melbourne Royal. And then my favorite sauce, my favorite child of all, A plus for them, is the garlic and echalot vinaigrette
Mm.
that won gold at the Melbourne Royal. And then last week it won best in show. So this little gutsy Asian sauce from Brisbane is the best vinegar or dressing in Australia at the Australian.
Wow.
And I'm so proud. I know there's a lot of great mustards, mayonnaise, tomatoes, instantly. So many of those sauces out there, but this is a truly Asian sauce, right? This has got ginger, this has got garlic, a lot of ginger and garlic, and a lot of sauce, spring onions. It has got peanut oil, it's got black rice vinegar, it's got soy sauce. It is unapologetic as a sauce. Seriously. And it's also got chilies and it's got red dates for sweetness and all these things that are not that we would use in our cooking.
And it has some ingredients in there that are familiar with the Australian palate. So garlic and ginger is used quite often, especially garlic, onions. Those are really popular in Australian cooking, having lived here for several years now. But you add a special flair with the Asian ingredients that you don't find, like the dates for sweetness. So I'm not surprised you won, so congrats. How does one get included in the conversation of best in show to even be considered for the award? How did that process work?
You have to subscribe to the Melbourne Royal updates, either on Facebook or on email. They send out to say entries are open. for the Australian Food Awards. And it's the same with the Sydney Royal as well. Entries are open. The Sydney Royal is quite specific. That one has to have 85% Australian produce.
Wow.
I can enter less. But in the Melbourne Royal one, it's 65%. Most of my seasons are more than 65% Australian produce anyways. I entered 4 sources in that competition and all for one. That was good. But it does cost money. It costs money per entry. Not too much, but it still does cost. And you actually have to send them the products. You send them one product labeled and the other products unlabeled. So they don't know what they're tasting. You get a special sticker for it.
Yeah. And I've seen you engage with not just a judging panel for your awards, but with your customers. And you have a significant social media following, fans of your products. How did this start and how did you grow it over the several years? What advice do you have for new brands?
I am the worst person to ask for this. I have no marketing background. I have no social media background or TV or filming, or whatever it takes to be on social media today. I am just this weird auntie. I just take whatever comes to my mind and I say, oh, it'll be a good idea. And I don't know. I guess sometimes it hits and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, no one's competing with you in that arena for a massive chili fascinator.
Go, that is just too much. I guess maybe as Asians, have we just been so demure for so long? I've just broken out. I don't know, Ray.
You're unapologetic, authentically. Yeah. We talk about that with startups too. You have to stand out, which is some cliche. And like for many people, standing out isn't really that bold. Like they don't really take the leap of putting on a chili fascinator on their head to be like their authentic self if that's what they're feeling. But you've done it.
You've hit the nail on the head. Be authentic. If you get an idea in your head or you see something that's funny and it's relatable to your brand, no.
Wow.
And there's so many things that can be offensive today. So there's a lot of things to think about there. However, I think if your message is overwhelmingly positive, and I think just put yourself out there. And I really don't think too much about social media. I do wake up and go, gee, I haven't posted for 2 days. I better post something. And I go, stop it. You'll find something. I did that this morning. I go, you'll find something. And then guess what? The universe provides, and I know that sounds so, but someone sent me a photo, a cafe that uses, shout out to Farmhouse Kedron Cafe, and they use my chili jam in their hot and sour avocado.
Oh, wow. Yum.
It's amazing. And they top it with these crispy kale bits. It's so good. They've just taken a photo of it in front of the row of jars of my chili jam because it sells really well in their small little retail shelf and they order all the time. I do food service now as well for their kitchen and they order cartons of the jars to sell directly to their customers.
What are some of the surprises you've had through social media, people contacting you? What kind of interactions have...
What I hate about social media...
Okay.
What I hate about social media is that if you get a post, then I don't really get thousands of reactions on my post.
Okay.
Good one. But as soon as that happens, you get some negativity. When I announce I'm going to be stocked in Woolworths, and then I got flooded with these private messages like going, oh my God, you've gone to the dark side.
Oh, wow.
Never believe you're there. Then I have to write back and go, I'm also in the independent stores as well. You can choose to buy my stuff in the independent stores. It's just, I'm at Woolworths because it's great for my CV.
It's good for your business.
I think it was after that ABC feature of the report. Yeah. Or the other day, we won that award and someone wrote in and said, no artificial nasties in your sauce. And I was going to reply because we don't add anything. But it's got soy sauce. And
is that a nasty?
Soy sauce. Any soy sauce that you buy has potassium sorbate in it. Unless you make it yourself, which is going to take 2 years, right? And also, you've got to distill it and you've got to work with. I don't have the infrastructure to make sure that it's food safe. I do have to admit I do it for my own self at home. I do have my own homemade soy sauce that's for certain dishes. I know it's very hoppy. It's not very salty either. So it's a bit different. But I can't use it for my sauces. And I was going to reply, but then my son says, and I consult, they are the experts because they're from another generation.
For sure.
Said, shall I reply? And he goes, hang on, let's see who this guy is. And he had 0 posts and 0 followers. And he was trolling lots of people. And he says, Mom,
he's a troll.
Troll account, don't answer. And that's what I did. And oh my gosh, this is the bad news side of it.
What are some surprises you've had from social media? You can talk about the good surprises.
Yeah, that is the bad surprise. But the good surprise is things like Andy Cooks. And
I like Andy.
Massive YouTube, massive social media stuff. And I didn't know, but he used my sauce.
I saw it.
Someone else told me from the US. So do you sell this in the US? I'd love to buy it. And I was just amazed that those are the beautiful surprises that I get when someone famous mentions it. And I just go, wow, I am getting out there. A chef calling talking about the garlic echalot vinaigrette a lot. Clearly, it's very good. Calling it adult Nutella because it puts it on everything.
Adult Nutella, that's great.
He'd get all these interactions if not for social media. No one's going to email me with these.
No, it's too much work and they can't find you.
That's right. So social media is so great at just connecting you with all these positives, negatives as well, but overwhelmingly so many beautiful positives.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Andy, and I watch his channel quite often to learn about cooking, and I saw your sauce. Super keen for him to be on this show. So I'll be asking Andy to join me for an interview. He used to be a chef, and then it was, I think during COVID, he moved to Queensland and started recording his cooking. And then it just took off during COVID because we're all stuck inside watching YouTube.
What did I do? I started reading fortune cookies.
You're in Woolworths, you have independence, you've grown past the farmers markets. What's next in your future that you can see in the 5 to 7 year mark? What does the Saucy Wench look like?
Old half-is. There's so many things. I don't want to get stuck in one goal because what the last 7 years have taught me is that it can go so many different ways to get to one of the goals. So that's really good. I've wished to be part of MasterChef, not as a contestant, and I know I can't because I have a food business. Because I actually did have someone approach me at the New Farm Market and said, "Oh, you look fantastic. Could you be a contestant on MasterChef?" And I said, "No, this is actually my business, and I've had it longer than a year, so I'm sorry, I'm ineligible." She was really disappointed. That's what makes me ineligible for MasterChef because I have a food business. And I remember thinking to myself, one day it would be great to be a judge or some featured thing like
part of the challenge.
Part of the challenge, yeah. Someone has to, and them, all right, you guys, you have to make a sauce, or you have to make the best. Yeah, you guys have to make the best dumplings I've ever seen, and it looks beautiful as well. And that was just a dream. And then last week, I got to be in the MasterChef kitchen.
You were there just for a different reason.
I wasn't the judge or anything, but it was for a good reason. It was for a great reason. It was so hot that day, Ray. I couldn't believe it. It was Melbourne and it was like 27 degrees, but I made it there. Maybe one day I will make it there and be the person that says, I want the best dumplings or I want the best sauces from you guys. I just want to taste an amazing sauce.
Or your own show and cookbook.
A book would be great. I just love to be in as many stores as possible, and restaurants then start realizing that making dumplings, which are now quite an in thing.
I started making prawn dumplings. You know this. I started making hagao from scratch with my own wrapper.
The reason why we don't make hagao is it freezes terribly.
It freezes terribly. I know this because I make the dough myself, and you have to use boiling hot water. You need to rest that dough. You need to stretch that dough, and then you have to get your pleats properly. And just there's something amazing about fresh prawns into hagao, like prawn dumplings, that are amazing with a little bit of water chestnuts for the crunch. Every time I make it, my family tells me, oh, you should make some extra to freeze. But I eat them all, no matter how many I make, 16 or 20. I just end up eating all of them with my friends. And it's become a social gathering because we did that growing up. Did you do that growing up around the table?
It was the best way to get people together.
Yes.
And we all did it during birthdays and special like prayer days or Chinese New Year because everybody was whole and we could all make dumplings together. That's pretty much what happens in my kitchen now because there's 6 ladies huddled around the table and they're making dumplings together and chatting
Yeah.
about their daily thing. One's explaining to the other about a new supplement she's taking that's really good.
Yeah.
The other one's saying, oh, I've got this friend and she's met an older gentleman and they're getting all out and they're going, oh, you watch out for your friend just in case. And he goes, oh, yeah, I know, I will. That kind of thing. And yes, making dumplings, they're delicious. Dumplings are delicious. But I think it's also the labor of love that goes
It's a labor of love.
into making dumplings.
Yeah, you can tell when
Yeah,
one's
exactly.
made from a machine that is sterile, uniformly perfect, but really it's the imperfections that show the authenticity, and the labor of love is, someone handmade this for you and you're eating it.
I just hope that in the future, more restaurants will understand this. If they want dumplings on their menu, it's better to go to a dumpling specialist like us to provide them with these handmade dumplings than to have it made in-house. You have one person making it, or you have a machine making it, or
Yeah. Or
you
yeah.
could train staff to do it. Leave it to an expert to make you a beautiful dumpling. And I just hope in the future we become, I don't know, the official dumpling of the Brisbane Olympics.
Maybe you should host a dumpling competition.
Sure.
We're coming into our final question. Looking back on your journey, this long but successful journey, what's one lesson that you've learned as a founder that you would like to pass on to future startups, founders wanting to enter the food scene?
Don't sweat it. That's the biggest lesson I've learned. You're going to make mistakes along the way. And again, we talked about that sounds so yield. It's true though. I have thrown money at the stupidest things, thinking it was the right thing to do. It's gone and it hurts and it didn't work, but you just have to let it go. And because the more you let it hold you back, the more you can't go forward and move forward. I think that's the important thing. Each step of the way, you do learn a lesson, even though you make mistakes. That is the biggest lesson I've learned, to let it go, to not sweat the small stuff. If you ask the next small business mentor or anything like that, they will tell you, you need to have systems in place, planning, time, and you need to be so in control of everything, and every minute must be calculated into your costs and everything. That's all great and all, but you're also running a business. And if you get down to these brass tacks as a small business, it's really, really hard to function. You're not fine. You're like a robot. It's all fine to have these systems in place once you get big enough and have staff. And one person loves to count and loves spreadsheets. It is doing all these things. So it'll be fine. But by that time, when you get big enough and they're counting every dime, you hopefully have enough volume to absorb a lot of those extra costs that you haven't accounted for. As a small business, it's really wrong where you get so much input and they're all telling you, you got to spend this much on advertising. You got to location advertising. You got to count your cost of goods and your fixed costs and your license. And yes, this is all very good advice. Count all that. Next minute, it's, oh, but have you counted this and have you counted that? And what about your contingency costs? And I say, yes, have a plan. But next time if you find something else, they'll go, I didn't count. Just don't beat yourself up.
Okay.
Just count it. Just, I don't know, just keep moving forward. Stop beating yourself up. You're going to make mistakes.
That's a great life lesson. For those who want to learn more, buy your products, follow your journey, where should they go? Here's your chance to.
So all my stockists listed on my website, www.saucywench.com.au. The sauces and the dumplings can be also ordered online. Obviously, the dumplings can't be shipped interstate. The dumplings can be enjoyed at several restaurants all around Brisbane, and you can go to my website to find all that out. Too many to list. I'll also be at the Brisbane Good Food and Wine Show. I'm there. This is my 5th year. It's a great opportunity to try all my dumplings, spring rolls as well that I make for the hospitality sector, and sauces. I'll see you guys at the Good Food and Wine Show.
Excellent. Thanks, Lisa, for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. This has been great.